Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We're back in this stage because we got to get a secret exit. Huzzah. This one requires you to be the elephant, so I have one in spare just in case I get hit, which I probably will because this is an fast auto-scroll level.
This was, I think, like one of the last secret worlds I found because, like, it just didn't occur to me to bring an elephant, and because there's no elephant in the stage. This is one of the few levels where you have to bring the power-up you need into the level in order to find the secret inside.
Yeah.
Which I think Mario almost never does, from my memory. You guys know World in 3 better than I do.
Off the top of my head, well, no, and the only thing that comes to mind are ghost house secret exits, which I think you can only reasonably reach 2 of them with the cape. But I do not know if you get the cape within the ghost house itself.
I think you get the cape in the ghost house itself in those levels.
It's hard to say because most of my playthroughs of Mario World are me just going stage to stage, and when I need to revisit the top secret area, I just go back. So I almost always have fully decked out Mario with Yoshi.
That's really funny. Yeah, I know that some of the older Kirby's, like Dreamland 3, 2, and 64, were sometimes bad about that, where they wouldn't have the power-up you needed in that stage, but most of the modern ones are pretty good about it. Mega Man, because that game's open-ended, most of them don't have, like, missable things in
the only one I can think of. The only one I can think of is the magnet beam in Mega Man 1, where you need a gut span to get it.
That's the thing where it makes a platform for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the only one I can think of as well.
Fucking X5 had a light capsule. I think it was Duff McWhalen's stage, actually, that you could not get unless you had Duff McWhalen's weapon. So you had to play the stage twice.
All right.
Yeah, it was an auto-scroller.
Really dumb.
Yes, it was. Nobody liked it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some X capsules, I think, that required other stage power-ups, right? Like, not Chill Penguin, Elephant Dude, didn't he need
Flame Mammoth?
Flame Mammoth?
Yeah, didn't he need...
Flame Mammoth required that you have Storm Eagle's head upgrade.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's kind of a non-issue if you follow a certain stage order, but that's only if you have hindsight.
Yeah, that's just a problem that I have with Mega Man in general, is that I find that the first playthrough is often not very fun. And you have to play the game like 2 or 3 times and know the order to do things, or look up a guide, and then the game's fun. You know, but that's a discussion for another day, I suppose.
Or, I mean, it could be today, because at the end of the day, we've done so many fucking Mario commentaries that if the first 3 parts weren't indicative, they got nothing to talk about. This is the time to talk about just regular shit. Because what are Mario games outside of Mario going left to right, jumping on shit and beating stages? There's nothing to bounce off of out of shit we've already talked about.
I mean, you know, you might feel that way, but I just got here.
Yeah. But I guarantee you're gonna burn through all the same things we burned through in the first part, and we were left with our thumbs up our ass for the last 2.
I was actually gonna comment on like my last experience with a 2D Mario game was New Super Mario Brothers, and this has like almost the exact same graphical style, but I was blown away.
As New Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, it has almost the same graphical style, not art style, graphical style. But I was blown away by how much better it looked, just because they're more imaginative with what's on screen.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily this particular level, because this level gimmick was done like pretty much exactly in both Rayman Origins and Donkey Kong Country Returns. But in general, yes, the imagination on display is... I think that's part of what makes this game so good, too, is that there's so much going on that's unique, but then once you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why didn't somebody think to do a level based around that before?
It's just kind of weird for me to look at, because like when I played the new Super Mario Brothers games, specifically I played them on Wii and Wii U, I was always put off by the way the environments were just these flat sort of they look like images. I'm not sure if they're 3D in this game or those games or whatever, but they look like flat images, right? They look like JPEGs.
I think they were. I think they were just the high-res PNGs.
So the backgrounds in this game are also 2D files. They're just done a lot better. They're a much higher resolution. And there's they're like 2D textures that are placed in 3D space. So it's not like what you're seeing here is that like the trees in the background, the ones farther back are a image that is farther back in 3D space than the ones in front of it. Just it is also a 2D image.
Yeah, I'm actually talking about the foreground though. The ground you walk on, the trees, and whatever else is in the immediate foreground, which always struck me as kind of like cheap looking. You know.
Yes.
Like, definitely. It made sense on a DS, but now that we're on the Wii and Wii U, maybe you want to go a little bit more 2.5D with that shit. I don't know. But they're still doing it flat here. I don't know if it's still an image, but they're still doing it flat, like, without even the slightest angle on the ground.
I know that Mario and the other playable characters are 3D objects, because Nintendo showed an image of the Mario model turned sideways, and there's some wonky shit that happens in order to get his face to look the right way.
Yeah, they've always done that in the new Super Mario Brothers games, but I think the ground has always been at least partly a 2D image, and I'm just like, I don't like it. But now I'm looking at it in this game, and I think it works a lot better, just because the overall art style of the level design is more cohesive.
It's amazing to me how much just making the game aesthetically look and feel nicer does to make the game more enjoyable. Yeah. I come from an era of YouTube, late 2000s and early 2010s, where there was a lot of the discourse was, oh, graphics don't matter. The gameplay is what matters. And yes, that is true in that you can have the prettiest game in the world, but if it sucks to play, it's not a very good game. Yeah, I do think that's right. But at the same time, if this game... I do think that this game plays better than the new Super Mario Brothers games, but I think that if this game looked exactly like the new Super Mario Brothers games, people wouldn't care. If people would have the same issues.
Now, when you say... I'm sorry for interrupting, but when you say plays better, what are you getting at?
So there's a couple of different things. For one, the more imaginative levels, I don't think just stresses like the visual design. I think that it also allows for more interesting level layouts too. Like, for example, like these Hoppos guys here, the purple fucks. New Super Mario Brothers especially had a problem where you would only ever see a gimmick for one stage, maybe two, and then it just disappeared and you never saw it ever again. And 3D World and Land also had this problem. And so it felt like nothing ever got explored or used in new and interesting ways. Whereas this game, there definitely are still like one stage off gimmicks, but everything feels much more fleshed out, and it feels like the game fully realizes everything that it throws at you while still also having variety and feeling each stage feeling unique.
Yeah, see, I never really found that a problem with the new Super Mario Brothers series, though. The fact that it didn't really reuse a whole lot of things, because I kind of yearn for that kind of variety.
Well, so that's the thing, is I don't want the game to feel the same, but at the same time, it's like, oh, nothing ever feels like you get tested or that you have to think too hard. If it's like the little ball guys with the suction cup feet that go like whop, whop, whop and flip over. Those guys are always only ever in one level in each game. Or like in Mario 3D World, they'll have those like platforms that flip back and forth when you jump. And those will only ever be in one stage, maybe two. Versus you will see stuff used in different ways all the time in this game, which I just find really, really cool. And there's also some other things, like I think the power-ups are more fun in this game.
It's kind of an old argument with game design, where, you know, if something only appears for one level, the downside to that is that you only have one level's worth of time to really develop what the level design can do with the thing. And the risk you run with that is that you know, that level design element, that gimmick, that enemy, whatever it happens to be, will only stick around long enough for you to learn how to deal with it, and then it disappears. Whereas if something recurs through multiple stages, it can be used in like more complicated ways over time. And, you know...
Basically, the Crash Bandicoot approach. Or, I mean, that's the closest comparison I can think of, where you'll run into an archetype of a level early in the game, and then later you'll run into, like, the second iteration of it, where it's more difficult with some of the gimmick.
Yeah, basically.
I was going to say Sonic the Hedgehog, because you always have at least 2 acts in a zone where they're doing stuff with a particular set of gimmicks, but it does get more pronounced when the recurrences of levels and level elements are spread out throughout a game rather than happening one after the other.
Yeah, they you're right. Both examples actually had come to my mind. It definitely Crash Bandicoot tends to be a pretty no frills kind of game. Like, aside from like the vehicle stuff, there aren't really that many gimmicks in Crash Bandicoot. It's pretty...
That depends on what Crash Bandicoot you're playing.
I'm thinking of the
not the point, but yeah.
Maybe some of the other ones are more gimmicky, but yeah, from what I've seen, again, I haven't played them. Crash... What's a way to say bare bones but make it sound good?
Crash Bandicoot 4.
Yes.
Yeah, like, because like I don't want to say Crash is bare bones in that like there's no depth. It's more just like it doesn't
focused.
Yeah, sure. There we go. Synergy.
I think the word you're looking for is focused.
Profit margins. There we go.
Well, I mean, confusing mechanical variety with depth is half of Crash Bandicoot 3's design philosophy, to be honest. Because they started to overdo vehicles with that game. Vehicles, swimming levels, that kind of thing. Levels that aren't platforming, essentially. And while it was fine for Crash Bandicoot 3, it really started to drag in Wrath of Cortex.
That was generally a platformer.
That game is a drag, is what you meant to say.
Yeah.
A lot of platformers did that around that time. Spyro.
Yeah, and that's
is another example.
That was kind of a symptom of game designers and gamers in general getting a bit tired of platformers, because platformers was all they knew. Because I know it's not the larger point, but that was not the reason why Wrath of Cortex was flummoxed. Oh yes, Wrath of Cortex had a laundry list of problems. It's just that the overabundance of vehicle sections are one of the ones that people will mention most often, because it's one of the most front and center.
Yeah.
How good are like the actual platforming levels in Wrath of Cortex?
They're okay.
They range from okay to occasionally very good. It's weird. The main issue with Wrath of Cortex's level design is that it's too wide open, which sounds weird in the context of a hallway-based Crash Bandicoot. But
you think too wide open, really? I would think that's more of a Twinsanity issue.
Well, when I say wide open, I mean it more in the literal sense of the levels being designed to be too wide. The hallways in a lot of cases are designed in such a way where you have too much horizontal space while you are moving vertically. And as a result, there's just too much empty space that serves no purpose, except to give you ways to get around the obstacles without actually having to engage with the obstacles. So, compounding that is the fact that Crash Bandicoot's movement speed is not great in that game.
No.
So it's just more. It's just more space to move slowly through. It's not good, and it starts as early as the first level too. It's Snow Go, but boring.
Drab.
Yeah.
More like that level's Snow Go.
Go.
Yeah.
Fucking hire me.
Entertainingly, some of the best platforming in the game is when you play as Coco, who has none of Crash's cool moves. It's just like in those levels when you're actually playing as her, the design is suddenly quite focused. You might not like being deprived of all your cool moves, but the platforming is solid.
But argument, a lot of those cool moves weren't actually very cool.
Don't you love tiptoeing? Isn't that great?
Well, I mean, when I say cool moves, I'm talking about the basics, like the slide jump. Coco, I don't think even had that. She was crash one crash with a lame kick in place of a spin. Yeah,
exactly.
Ugh.
So we've made it to Special World. Huzzah! It's very segmented compared to other Special Worlds, so you're getting them if you're really exploratory in each world. So
yeah, no, I like the way that they do this. I think I mentioned this in an earlier part, but the game's generally pretty easy. So I like that if you're a, curious explorative player and you want more of a challenge, you don't just have to beat the game to, get to the hard levels that might satisfy you. You can have them sprinkled in throughout the rest of it. And some of these do get pretty tricky, especially going for the
case in
coins. Yeah.
Case in point.
At least you keep the coins when you die, so.
No, not the purple coins? Do you keep them if you die?
Yeah.
You have to finish the stage.
Yeah, but I thought that you had to. I thought that you had to pick them up again. Oh no, you don't.
No.
Okay, so you suiciding for coins.
You do have to finish the stage, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I love the aesthetic of this game. It's really, really nice, especially those.
By the way, fuck the stage in multiplayer.
Oh, I have not.
I saw your playthrough, so
I have not attempted to play this stage in multiplayer.
Fucking sucks. Imagine 4 players bouncing on the same hippo, and any bounce can just change the trajectory of the fucking thing at any point.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, if you bounce, if you get to the right of the Hoppo, it will bounce the other way.
It changes. Yeah, it shifts the directions.
Oh, jeez. How good is the game in general in multiplayer?
I mean, there's no friendly fire from what I remember. So your friends can't grief, for better or worse. It's just, it still has the age-old camera issue. Actually, if there's one thing that I will compliment New over Wonder in terms of its multiplayer, is that New zooms the camera out when all 4 players are getting further apart. This game doesn't do that. And we'll just focus on one character depending on who's in the lead or what have you, whoever has the crown above their head. Essentially,
an odd oversight.
I mean, I think it was probably them trying to either A, save resources, or B, sometimes in games that do that, you just can't see what's going on. Coughs at Castlevania Harmony of Despair, of Dissonance.
I can't see what's going on when the camera doesn't zoom out.
Well, maybe you should just stay close to the leader. Skill issue.
No, that means everyone needs to have the same level of skill or playthrough ability to make it a non-issue.
You're literally describing a skill issue, John. Gosh,
we literally cannot do that. Listen, I know it. I know it must kill you that I am saying something about New is better than Wonder.
I mean, not
but
really.
I'm just stating.
I'm
not talking to you specifically though, Ted. It's just that they got it right in New, and they fucked it up with Wonder.
I don't think they got it right in New, but it's certainly.
I think Mario's overrated.
Mario's overrated. Wow. Koopas.